What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another spoiler recap here at Big Gold Bell Media. Cam and Damian G, we are here to talk about Tokyo Vice Season 2, season finale, episode 10, premiering April 4th on Max. Okay, Damon, we talked about it. This is definitely a bittersweet ending to this series that we've been able to enjoy. Both of us, we didn't get to see season one. We just did a recap of season 1 and jumped straight into it in season 2. And I think within the first 4 or 5 episodes, there were so many different characters that we loved to hate and love at the same time.
Correct.
And this show, man, it's just gravitating. What was your experience watching this show through and through so far?
You said it. It pulled us in, around episode 4, I'd say, when you and I really started to get invested. We're even, not even talking about this, like doing a show. We would talk about Vice, we were kids and talking about our favorite cartoon. So, this started for me as I hate Jake and I hated Samantha. Then it became who's going to get Paulina. So, but underneath all of that, all jokes aside, the neo-noir thriller genre, this was expertly done. I loved this show, even though it was slow to build up, because you and I were both new to this.
Right.
But one thing I've realized about this show in particular, and maybe that's the same for all neo-noirs, is that you're on the edge of your seat from the start of the episode to the end of the episode. Yep. Because you don't know what twist and turn is going to happen. Will there be a double cross? Will there be a murder? Will there be some sort of chicanery going on? And it's those things that keep you interested. Whereas something, let's say, like The Walking Dead, which is something a lot of people would probably say they're fanatics about as well. All the good stuff's going to happen at the end of the episode. Mm-hmm. Here, it's you don't know when the important stuff is going to happen, and something so benign as a roll of the eyes in episode 3 from one character comes full circle in the series or potentially series finale, but season finale, where it comes back around. And expert storytelling, and I think that's expert long-term storytelling, in my opinion. So, wow, lot to discuss. So let's just jump into like the things we liked in just the episode. Let's hit that.
Yeah. I would say in all the episodes so far, but for this one, extremely to the max, I would say that they really completed a full circle of the storytelling, right? I mean, they did such a great job. I mean, this is probably, if you really enjoy, like you said, that dark noir type shows that really kind of slowly develop, but also are giving you more each episode. This is definitely something for people to check out at home. And sadly, we don't have any news on what's going to happen after this as far as if there's going to be a season 3. But as we get into it, as we tell you guys what happened in this spoiler recap, you will know that this sounds like this might be the end of Tokyo Vice. What do you think? Do you think there's like a possibility that going forward there's going to be more, or
if it's based on the book, right, that Adelstein wrote, the real life Adelstein. So there'll be some stories because he's a newspaper journalist.
Right.
So this might just be the end of this story arc to keep a little bit of a door open. But as we'll get into it, when Katagiri's saying he's retired, even though he doesn't really want to stay retired, you could tell So there might be another buddy cop team up between the two of them. But I don't know who the big bad would be aside from the former Mrs. Tozawa. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If the real Adelstein has all these enemies in real life, man, I'm surprised he's alive, to be honest with you, because I'm
basically
crazy.
Unless Adelstein's a nickname for the witness protection program, right? So
right. That's not really my real name. I'm just using that so that I can sell these books, which would make sense though. Right, exactly. So this episode kind of picks up right where we left off in the last episode 9, where everyone is kind of still hiding out in the safe house, and now Katagiri and I call her deputy director, but she's just basically another detective at this point. Detective Nagata are basically trying to find Jake and his location, but still right now they're trying to hatch a plan how they can bust Tozawa. So at the end of the last episode, we got to see that Tozawa's wife came to Katagiri and let him know, like, hey, he actually does have this, I think, apartment, or was it a hotel? They said hotel room where he has a safe, and this safe keeps all his special documents in there. So they figured, all right, we're gonna make this bust, but there's two different locations that we have to go to, I believe, right? So they were saying that one was either the yacht boat where Paulina got Paulinaed, and then also the hotel, or the hotel room that Tozawa has.
Keeps
I think
safe.
it's crazy to even think though that Tozawa has a hotel room. How much do you pay for a hotel room just extended stay that long? I'm just thinking in my head.
Especially the fact that he's, affluent. So
Yeah,
it's not cheap for him to just stay there. I don't know. I'm thinking what, $300 a night minimum.
Yeah, I'm not paying that. But I mean, he's got it. He's got the bread. So as we know. Yeah, that's true. The yen instead of the bread at this point. So now Jake Jake is at the safe house right now, and he's been trying to get Sato to let him use the phone, right? But of course, Sato's like, no, it's too dangerous. We need to just stay put, and I'm just going to devise a plan. We're going to figure out how to get out of here. Eventually, he does convince Sato to give him a cell phone. He calls Katagiri, and he gives Katagiri the address. Katagiri's like, I'm on the way. Come to find out, there's actually one of Tozawa's men tailing Katagiri this whole time. And I'm like, are you the detective, or are you just a civilian? You don't look over your shoulder? I mean,
check your surroundings, anything, right?
Crazy. I mean, I get it, because I don't think they think they're bulletproof. At the same time, I think they kind of forget how extreme or how unstable Tozawa really is. He'll go to any extremes to get things done. And, regardless of what the situation is, he wants to get the mission done, whether he's killing you or somebody else. So Katagiri basically gets to the safe house. He gets in there. He's talking to Jake. They basically are trying to still figure out this plan of how to bust Tozawa. So Katagiri knows now that, the only way I'm going to be able to do this is if I go straight to Sato, and Sato brings it to the other Yakuzas, so that internally they can go ahead and push Tozawa out. Right. Because we already know the paper's not going to publish it. We've already, gone that route. But that still was like a little question that's in there, but they felt like if they didn't do it, if they did in the paper, the FBI was probably still going to just cover it up. I think essentially that's probably what it alluded to. But irresponsibly, I will say this: Jake runs out of the safe house and tries to catch Katagiri to figure out where he's going. Katagiri is going to go pick up these documents from this yacht, right? While Nagata is also going to the hotel room. So that way, two different places. Tozawa can't be both places at once, right? So eventually he's got to be either at the hotel or he's at the boat. Luckily, he's not at the boat though. So Jake runs out and he's like, oh man, like I want to go. He's like, no, stay here. Relax. You ain't got no gun. You got a camera. You can't snap nobody to death. Okay. and Jake is thinking in his head, he's like, I got this, I can do anything. I'm like, man, you are just
that Gaijin shield, man. Gaijin shield.
I'm like, geez, like I just see what happened to Tintin, and I'm like, do you want that to happen to you? Because for me,
they whooped his ass last season for finagling with Misaki. So they whooped his ass last season,
and he learned zero lessons from this so far. Because he continued to keep dating Misaki, knowing that. Well, I guess because part of him thought I was gone, right? So he thought like, okay,
we in the clear, baby. Yeah.
But now he's like, oh, Tozawa back, or we could just creep around. Dude, you are risky. You're risky all around. It's so wild to think about. So one of Tozawa's men actually sees Jake come down the steps. So he makes a call to Tozawa. He's like, hey,
we found her.
I know they're here, right? They're here. We're gonna get them now. So in that moment when you saw Tozawa's men, or the guy make the call to Tozawa, what did you think was gonna happen next, right?
Okay, so
we know what happened, but it didn't happen how I thought it was gonna go down.
So are we talking about the first safe house?
First safe house, yes.
Right, where they're going out the back. Yeah. So
for
when I thought we were gonna have a gunfight at the OK Corral, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought how it played out later in the episode was not how I expected it, but I expected those same parts. Like, for instance,
Right.
I
Right.
thought they were going to come in at gangbusters, take Masaki forcefully back to
Mhm.
Tozawa. And even though I hate her, I thought she might have had a couple of cards up her sleeve, even if they took her by force
Right.
to get him got, because they all had been planning and plotting anyway. Like, just in case he gets you, this is the plan. Or just in case one
Right.
of us is cornered, this is the plan. And I might be giving them way too much credit, but
Yeah.
that is how I envisioned it at first. But this proves Sato's leadership. Because
Mhm.
remember, the one dude says Shihirakai doesn't run
Right.
because Sato wasn't there. But
Right.
because it's Sato and its strength, their numbers aren't that big, their job is to protect these gaijin and to protect that woman. That's
Right.
what the boss told you to do.
Yeah.
Do it at all costs. So you going into a gun or a knife fight just for pride is going to help you with your job. So they scooch out the back, they get away, and I was surprised we didn't have some bloodshed right then and there.
Yeah, I was actually surprised too. I definitely thought one person was probably gonna die. I didn't know which one, but so far in this season, we haven't been too good
I've been
with who's gonna
wrong,
die
bro.
so far. Yeah, we've been all wrong. People been getting stabbed and shot that we didn't even think was gonna get killed in this season.
Mhm.
But all the main players so far have stayed intact. I will say that though, which they did a good job of. So
I'll say one more thing really
go
quick.
ahead.
You referenced Nagata. To the minute we were in the group chat saying, I still believe she's in on it. Like,
I know, I did too. I did too.
my paranoid brain was like, wait a minute, if this is your last hurrah before they transfer you, like, what do you have up your sleeve? What kind of? But this is the show, right? Like,
Right.
it has you turning your brain on to the 10th degree. So I thought it was pretty good that she took her team to the hotel,
Right.
because her going to the yacht and him and Katagiri's group going to the hotel does nothing if the boat is the play, because she had
Right.
2 hours before she was supposed to be transferred.
Right.
So
Exactly.
getting into a long drawn out cops and robbers isn't going to be beneficial. But even up until then, I kept thinking, oh, she's still in on it. She's in on it. And again, like you were saying, and everybody watching, we were just wrong. And
nothing.
I'm okay with being wrong, because
Yeah.
a whole lot of twists and turns, and that's the draw of the show. So for me personally, I was still thinking to that moment, like, oh, she's in on it. And then after what's his name? Tozawa says, get me out of here in the next hour or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And we never hear from her again. That was it. She
Yeah.
was gone. Poof. So she
Right.
did her job, and she bounced.
Yeah. No. Yeah. She literally got out of there. She got in the car and was like, "All right, good job, y'all.
Yeah.
Peace out."
Oh, y'all now. Yeah.
Signing out. Nagata out. I was like, "Oh damn. Okay, that's kind of crazy." But she even kind of put herself, like you said, she put herself on a line because she was already fired at that point, right? Like
Right.
her position was already relieved. But she went to the hotel and Tozawa said a remark to her like, "I'll be talking to your supervisor." And in her head, she's probably like, "I ain't got no supervisor, dummy. I'm gone," and just rolled out. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it definitely helped the whole surprise, the element of surprise though for Katagiri and Jake when they went to the yacht. So as they go to the yacht, of course, I don't know what you want to call them. What are the yacht boys? They're not called
Dockmen. Just
the
call them
Dockmen. Oh my god, I'm so
Dockmen.
sorry, Dockmen.
the
Yacht boys.
boys.
Sounds like booty shorts next to the pool. I am so wrong. I'm so sorry. So there are the crewmen on the boat, right? The crewmen on the boat. That sounds even better. All right, great. So the crewmen on the boat are trying to stall, right?
Yes.
I mean, they're obviously in Tozawa's pocket as well because they still know
That's his boat.
Right. The things that go on this boat are probably not illegal, and I'm pretty sure the amount of money that they get paid to not say anything is probably not what a standard, crewman is probably getting paid on a regular day. So they're trying to like distract Katagiri and Jake. And as they go on the boat, Jake has this moment where he doesn't even think about going to get these papers. The papers were the main mission, right?
Right.
The most important thing. Of course, Katagiri's going to catch him, even though he's 62 trying to track down this 25-year-old guy running down the street, right, with papers. And Jake's like, all right, let me go check out where Paulina died. I'm like, I guess I really don't know how close of a relationship they had in season 1 for me to be able to go off of, like, you know, why did he do that, or why did he really want to kind of reminisce in that place. But it seemed to have a lot of sentimental value to him, you know, being able to take himself back there. Did you think it was going to play out how it did, or did you think, you know, he was going to help Katagiri a little bit more, you know, especially him just being there in the first place?
Well, Jake being Jake, he does things his own way for his own benefit. So I'm not surprised that, you know, he went snooping around the boat because he's an investigative reporter. And being that this is the boat that Paulina got Paulina'd, he did some digging. And when he went into the room, and I even asked you, was that the room? And then when you see it's the room from episode 1 of season 2, it's like he's looking around for more clues.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like other papers or other documents. And you can correct me if I misread this, but I thought him searching was how they found the prime minister's chicaneristic papers. I didn't think it was from the original paper set that they found for Tozawa, because what they were chasing for Tozawa was the FBI informant paperwork.
Yeah.
What Jake found was the paperwork incriminating the prime minister for the stuff they tried to get him for the Paulina murder at the beginning of season 2. So I may be wrong, audience, you know, viewers, correct me if I was wrong on that, but I thought that's how they came about finding that information to later on incriminate the prime minister. So Jake being Jake worked out, I guess, in that realm.
Yeah. I mean, that actually kind of makes sense. We didn't really get to see where, I guess, the papers were pulled out or any type of exchange. All we know is the one of the crew members that was taking off and trying to run these documents back to Tozawa, who's probably like
a
60-year-old
catch you, by the way.
Yeah, he got walked by a 6-year-old man. Unbelievable. But yeah, so he gets tracked down by these documents, and then they force him to call Tozawa. This dude is definitely on Tozawa's bad list right now. Calls Tozawa and is like, hey, I got the documents for you. The police came, but I was able to hide them. He's like, okay, keep them for me. You'll be greatly rewarded. Yeah, that guy's gonna get a real reward now at this point, because we don't know how many days happened after he actually got busted in this point. So I'm like, that guy could have taken an L once he said, like, all right, yeah, I really don't have the papers. They made me lie to you. They were like, all right, that's one guy's story arc that we never got to see. The crew member that tried to do the 40-year-old dash against Katagiri is probably taking an L right now at this point. So I think that's crazy. But like you said, they went to a second safe house, just picking back up from Sam, Masaki, and the other members of Shai Harakai. They decided to go to Sam's Club, right? I mean, that's probably
not Sam's Club. Sam's Club.
Sam's Club. Yeah, not the the grocery store where you go pick up bulk food and accessories. No, not there. But Sam's Club. Sam. Yes. The girl. Yeah. So they go to Sam's Club. I don't even like saying it now because it sounds so funny. But they go there, and I think Shai Harakai are kind of taken back. They're like, oh wow, this is where the oil bond died, right?
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, and they kind of say, thank you for bringing us here, because now we kind of get the honor where he was, where he last stood and standing. And that kind of meant a lot seeing that as well. I don't think that was Sam's intentions at all. No, she was just trying to, like, you know, save her own life at this point. And I guess it's more like hiding in plain sight type thing. I mean,
like, why would they go back there?
Why would they go back to the place where we'll probably look first, you know, in this type of situation? So that kind of makes sense for her doing that. But we kind of pan back, and then we get to see that, or no, matter of fact, Masaki gets a phone call, I believe, right? During this time when she's there.
Masaki does get a phone call while she's there.
And she's thinking it's her mom. This reminded me of Invincible, but I would just go straight into this though, because Masaki gets a phone call and she thinks it's her mom. She's like, hey mom, are you okay? Are you doing well?
Your mom is
Tozawa. It's Tozawa. Hostage situation. You know what's going on, everybody. So now Tozawa is like, all right, you need to bring me the gaijin, right? Jake, and I need to see you immediately, or your mom is not going to be in
Gets
great
got.
shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, toast. So, of course, she kind of agrees, but of course, she's going to call Jake and also Katagiri to figure out things to kind of devise a plan here.
Along with Samantha. So let's give her due.
Okay, I'll give her a
Samantha
little bit
was
of credit there.
part of this
She
plan
seemed
too.
like more of an emotional support system, to be honest with you, but
We'll
I'm not
give her
going to take that
credit.
away from her. That's still help regardless, though.
Yes.
She wasn't on the other side, so that makes her one of the good guys at this point. But then we kind of pan back and we get to see Sato actually presenting the council of the Yakuza with all these documents, or the documents from the FBI, providing information that now Tozawa was and is still an informant for the FBI, and all these different busts and all these different things that's been happening with these raids. It's all because of Tozawa. He's been snitching on y'all this whole time and basically dishonoring the whole Yakuza. And of course, they're kind of like, I wouldn't say that they were in disbelief, because I think they still know Tozawa is not really, he's not an honorable person, right? I mean, he got to this position because, not because I wouldn't say he lied and stole, but he definitely pulled the wool over several people's eyes to get into the position of where he is right now. So I think they're more fearful of rising up against him, thinking that other people are going to side with him as well. But I mean, once they know that, hey, this is it, they're kind of like, all right, well, I guess we got to go to war and help Sato get this guy out of here. So all these different parts and all these different components are like moving at the same time, right? I mean, there's 8 different groups that are trying to figure out things. And of course, Masaki, Samantha, Jake, and Katagiri are all part of this plan. But there's one person that we keep forgetting to talk about that I feel like is such a vital component. We talked about him backstage, matter of fact, and it is the driver. The driver is such an unspoken about character on this show that we would say that he is the unsung hero of this story for sure. As they keep trying to put these plans into effect, did you think there was going to be a way for Tozawa to kind of escape this whole entire ordeal?
Yes. And him getting, okay, so I'll say this to the viewers. I'll say, I thought Tozawa was going to be the long-running villain for 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah.
How are we going to get this guy? Like Al Capone, So the fact that this, by all accounts, this bust of Tozawa, in the way it was done, leaving it to the other leaders of the Yakuza to handle their stuff internally, because Katagiri says sometimes the right decision isn't always the most, I guess, noble.
Yeah.
Or he used another word, but I'll just use noble. And that hit me, because big picture is we need to bring this man in at any cost, because if you remember, his wife tells him a couple episodes ago, end it. I don't care what you got to do, end it. So he realized, Katagiri realizes, can't go internally with his people. You can't go to the other law enforcement agencies. Everybody's a mole potentially. So what's he do? What did I say earlier in the season? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And that's exactly what it was. And seeing, because we forget this is a Japanese inspired timeline, like back then, like culture, right? So bringing shame upon your house is enough to get you excommunicated, even if you're just a normal run-of-the-mill human, right? So just imagine you've taken the power by force of the entire Yakuza. You've slimed your way into one of the biggest banking companies of the world and become 5% owner using your wife's holdings, etc., etc., etc. So you have lied, cheated, and stealed and all Eddie Guerrero'd yourself just to become the number one. But you did so by stepping on everybody. So when this comes out, the other Yakuza who they hate him, right? It's not like, oh, they like him. It's not like Ashita. where
Right.
Ishida had a lot of respect amongst the different clans.
Right.
Everybody hated Tozawa.
Yeah.
They made friends with him to save their own bacon.
Right.
So when the opportunity arose for them to put the screws to him, oh, I am not surprised that they turned that quickly. I am not surprised. And
Oh yeah.
that's the way it had to happen for this show.
Yep.
Because the law wasn't going to do it. The journalism wasn't going to do it. So I handle it in-house. I thought that was brilliantly done.
Yeah, for sure. Same. And before we get to the part where we talk about, you know, the meeting or the Yakuzas, how they all kind of got together and they devised this huge plan as well with Sam and Jake. There were some other little elements that were, you know, still moving around and trickling throughout this episode as well. We got to see Emmy, right? She was taking the documents given to her by Jake, and I guess they make several copies of these things because these papers were flying all over the place, right?
Yeah,
right. And I think that's a huge good point that Sato made when he was talking to Tozawa. He was like, "This is a copy," because Tozawa probably would have tried to rip it up and be like, "Oh, I don't have no paper," you know, magic. So Emmy brings the documents to Baku, and Baku, I mean, honestly, he looks stressed, but he knows if he turns down publishing this huge, I mean, amount of evidence that would take down not only, I think, what was he, not the governor, was it senator?
The prime minister.
The prime minister, sorry. The prime minister as well as Tozawa, then Emmy would definitely be looking at him like, you know what, you're obviously part of the problem, right? So I felt like he felt like a little bit of mental pressure to, you know what, say yes, even though it's going to bring a lot of fire onto the paper. So he was ready to bust these guys, and he said, you know what, write the story. Emmy is honestly looks shocked, but she also looks very, very excited and surprised and kind of hopeful for her job in the future, which I thought was a bright spot, because if we've seen Emmy in the last 5 or 6 episodes, she's looked stressed because she doesn't know whether this is going to be somewhere she'll be staying long term, just because of the fact that there's internal people. Yeah, there's internal people at her own job that are trying to sabotage telling the truth. The whole reason why she got into this whole entire thing of running or being a part of a newspaper. And then we get to see that what we hoped would not have happened in the last episode. Trinity gets a phone call from Jason. And we're thinking like, you know what, maybe Jason is going back home for a little bit. Things are getting a little hot out here.
I thought Jason was dying. I thought somebody got Jason.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, that would have been next, I would have thought, because, you know,
FBI.
Come to find out, we thought, you know, we didn't get to see really if Jake exposed the information of who his source was within the FBI, but they're sending Jason home, right? So obviously someone's given Jason's name as being the source for the reason why or how Tozawa is actually an informant for the FBI. So come to find out, Jason might be going back home to the United States and probably being brought up on charges is what they're saying it this far. So I just think about Jason is so young, man. He's like, I mean, he's probably like his 20s, right? I would say. And like
late 20s, early 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, you know, what the recovery is like after giving away governmental secrets, but I'm pretty sure it's not good. It is not good at all. I'm pretty sure like there is it's a very difficult ladder to climb. You go from top secret clearance to being a security threat at this point, and that's got to be hard, you know, because I'm pretty sure this was during the Reagan administration too?
No, this was the 90s. This was the Clinton administration.
Clinton. Okay. He might be okay. We'll see. But fingers crossed. But it was a sad part of the story to hear, you know. And it's crazy
was broken up by this because
his eyes were watering. I thought he was gonna cry.
And he was telling him this must be a mistake. Like it couldn't be like, because Trendy trusts Jake. Like that's one of his right hand. That's his right hand man. So he's bawling, thinking, no, this has to be a mistake kind of thing. And
nope.
But we find out, nope.
And I think that's the thing about Jake, man, is that like the people he hold. Yeah, it's. I mean, and I hate that the character's like this, but it adds so much to talk about also when you think about this character as well, because it just seems like when it's time for for the prize or trying to reach a goal, no one is safe for Jake.
No.
He will literally throw whoever or whatever under the bus to obtain whatever circumstances that he wants. But I mean, I understand why Jake is doing the things he's doing, because one, family probably still at risk. He really wants to bust Tozawa. But how much do you think him and Masaki's relationship is really affecting?
I knew you were gonna ask me that question.
You know what's coming up. You know what's coming up,
Damn.
and it's driving me crazy because I'm like, you know what? You need to get together, Jake. You got to find a different reason to bust Tozawa. It better not be because you better not be busting this man because you want to date her like that,
bro. But that's it. That's part of it. Like that was a major motivation. Okay, think back to when they were in the safe house, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
beginning of the episode. He still got the googly gaga eyes while talking to her. I'm so glad you're okay holding a bro. You sold out one of your best friends. And then you're thinking, because remember, go back to season 1. My man got stomped out. And the reason why he wanted to get Tozawa, like we said, caught, isn't just because of publicity. It's so Misaki could be free to date whoever she wanted, and she could date Jake out in public, and it could be all kumbaya. Yo, I don't like Misaki, but I can't stand that Jake's out here simping for her this hard, bro. Like, no.
Come on, man. Like,
no. The real Adelstein, we need to talk, bro. For real.
We need to have a one-on-one. Is this true? She's made up, right? Please let her not be a real person, and you just want to add some dramatic effect into the show. I mean, okay, but back to it though, right? So they're still devising this whole entire plan. Right. And of course the driver is the one who is brought into the council, right? So I would say they met at a hotel room, or
yes.
I would say it's a hotel, but it was like the business center, I guess you can say.
Sure.
And of course the driver's like, okay, we're gonna meet Masaki and Sam here. We're basically gonna, or he doesn't even know that Sam's there, right? Right. He just knows that he's meeting Masaki at this point because Tozawa still thinks, okay, she's gonna bring Adelstein here. I'm gonna beat him up, probably kill him, honestly, and then we're gonna be done with everything.
And let me interject really quick.
Go ahead.
So the driver, Hagano,
yeah,
earlier in the episode, when he's telling Tozawa he can't find Masaki, he goes, "What? So you're just gonna keep being my wife's lapdog? Are you that incompetent?" So remember, this dude, the last 2 or 3 episodes, has been by his wife's side, by Tozawa's wife's side the entire episode. He didn't snitch on Masaki to what's his face, took her straight to the wife.
Yep.
But he's always had this like face on the entire season.
Yeah.
So for him to be involved with this plan, like I knew that the wife was still going to be up to something. I just didn't know where she was going to fit in.
Right.
But
right.
The fact that Hagano helps to find this and set this meeting up, and like you said, it's a restaurant, but it looks like a business center. It's kind of like a weird,
kind of crazy,
weird
spot. I thought it was a spa at first. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, because apparently, him and Masaki went on a date there once. Okay. It's public. People will be seen,
Right.
That'll be a lot of people to kill if you're trying to kill Jake in broad daylight.
That's true. Yeah.
So the fact that Hagano is part of this plan, which we didn't know what part of the plan he was,
right?
Until so let me set the scene. Tozawa shows up at this restaurant. Masaki standing there looking like Lois Lane in a reporter coat, looking all half scared, half brave. But before he gets there, Samantha's over here talking about, it's okay, I'll be right here. What you gonna do first and foremost? Talking about, don't worry, I'll be right here. You know the plan. So we got a plan with Samantha. We got a plan with Masaki. But we don't really understand where Sato's in as a part of this plan because I don't remember them talking it out with Sato.
They didn't. So that's where we were kind of like in the dark. And in my head, I'm thinking like, all right, Masaki is going to be over here talking to Tozawa, and Sam going to come out and just shoot him, right? I'm just like, okay, that's
I thought that's what it was,
right?
I thought that's what it was. So
come to find out, I guess it came full circle when we didn't see off camera. So
right, and I know I complained about this a couple of episodes ago, but the fact that everybody's so intertwined and intermingled, I didn't like it at first from a storyline perspective. Like, all right, you guys are way too tight. But because everybody being way too ingratiated
Yeah.
actually helped this situation out.
Right.
So Masaki's out here waiting in her reporter jacket. My guy pulls up, right? Tozawa pulls up, gets out the car, looking all Tozawa menacing and everything with that scowl. And he tells her, you know, he must really love you to put you to be out here and do all this. And then he tells her, what happens next is your fault. Yeah. Mind you, he still has her mom, we believe, captive in the home that he purchased for her mom because that's her boyfriend. So Nagano's there. They go to the front desk. They're all talking, and he tells Tozawa, Nagano goes, there's a private room in the back, so you wouldn't be interrupted. Because they think they're waiting for Jake. Because Masaki says he's on his way. He wouldn't come if he knew I was hurt, kind of thing. Right. Bro, when they walked back there, first off, I thought about Chris Rock and there's no champagne and no kissing in the champagne room. So that was the first thing I thought. The second thing I thought was, oh damn, they're going to a private and someone's getting Paulinaed in private. We're finally gonna get a payoff. Right. He walks in, y'all. He walked in, and sitting there isn't just one person. It's not just two people. It's not Katagiri and Jake. It's the entire Yakuza delegation. Yeah. And they bought somebody who they said, hey, in order for us to do this plan to get Tozawa, we got to bring one more person to this meeting. Now, I don't know I don't know the name of the elder that was sitting there, but he was the one like, yeah, no, you suck. Essentially saying, you brought shame upon this house. Yeah. So they're grilling him like for acts of treason. Mm-hmm. What is this? And then you said it like, oh, it's a fake, it's a forgery. Oh, so you've been selling us out to the Americans? How dare you? Yeah. And Tozawa, to his credit, to the end, remember what his wife said, once a street thug, always a street thug. Right. So he's quick to think on his feet. So he made them pick the boy or me. One of us is dying, either the kid or me. And when they picked Sato, he goes, I will bribe everybody in this room. I will use my wife's financial holdings to guarantee you restitution for the trouble you've been caused.
It made me think of Shannon Sharp. He's like, restitution. Yes. I was like, but yeah. And then the wife comes in and she's like,
out of nowhere,
don't make agreements that you can't hold to because I'm not part of this at all. And he's like, and then she brings in, I guess you could say, a ceremonial dagger or blade in Japanese culture, and she puts it on the desk, and she says, you can either do this the easy way or the hard way, but I will let your children know that you die with honor.
Yes.
Everybody just gets up and walks out of the room, right? And the only person that stays in there, we know, is the driver, right? Mm-hmm. And he closes the door behind him, and Tozawa looks at him, and you can see Tozawa's eyes starting to get a little glazy, right? A little glazy. Start tearing up. I'm like, oh, you met your match, brother. That's it. Because I'm pretty sure if he were to walk out of that room within minutes, he probably would have been killed by one of them, most likely. So,
of course, he would have.
Instead of bringing more shame to his name and his family, he decided to take himself out. We don't really get to see.
We don't see
what happens. We do see, him undress. He does get the blade. He puts it on his hand wrist area. Yeah. But then the camera kind of cuts away. And we just
I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I thought when he was doing the undressing thing, I'm like, shit, we're gonna see his ass again? Like he's gonna be naked for this again?
One final kiss goodbye.
Because he's doing this, he's undoing the cuffs, he's unbuttoning his shirt like he's Superman, and I'm thinking, this motherfucker gonna be naked again. He's gonna die naked.
Jesus. So, no, can't do it again. It's just too much.
So he slices his hand. Yep. Like you said, he's teary-eyed. The music turns.
It's very, very powerful, right? It was a very powerful instrumental or orchestrated ensemble that they put together for this moment, though.
For the
Which I
moment,
think
yeah.
which is a huge moment in this series, because this is like the end to a tyrant that was kind of,
Yes.
forcefully bothering everyone. So this is like the closing of that chapter.
And
you
we don't
really
see him do it.
See him
We
do
don't see
it,
him
right?
do it. Right.
Right. You get to see the beginning and the ending effect, but between that, in the midst of it, you get to see all of the other High Council members going to their cars and just driving off. It's like they didn't even want to wait to see if he was dead or not. They were just like, well, he gonna kill himself. We're gonna get out of here, right?
Yeah.
And if not,
You even
we'll hear
asked me,
about it
did
and
he
we'll
die?
find him. So, right, like we'll figure out how to get him if he doesn't do it himself at this point. So,
and with the cutaway, you even said, "Yo, did he die?" Like,
right,
we didn't. It wasn't for certain that he went through with it, because maybe he killed Hagano.
That's
he
what I
found a way.
thought.
He found a way out of this precarious position. But the camera cuts to everybody driving off.
Yep.
And Jake and what's his face and Katagiri's is just outside waiting. Just waiting,
yeah,
like, for their
just waiting
chance.
patiently at this point. And then Nagano comes out, and it's so funny or kind of awkward how he comes to Katagiri, because he comes to Katagiri and he says,
I'd like
to report a suicide.
Yes.
I'm like, well, he knew he was in there, so it's strange. I guess he had to just be formal about it, because
it had to be formal that it was a tip,
right?
Because he goes, "Hey, we got a tip
about it."
Mm-hmm.
So
and Katagiri thanks him for the tip.
He's like, "Thank you, I appreciate it." Like he didn't know that was going to happen in there.
I thought that was,
but
so
I
cool.
thought that was. I would say there's a lot of honor in the show all through. No matter if the person's good or bad, or on the right side, or doing something unhonorable, it still feels like the people or the main characters in the show still show respect regardless. Because even the fact that Katagiri and Jake were the ones that went in there to check to see if Tozawa was actually dead, or unalived himself. And they go in there and Katagiri sees him. And of course, what does Jake do? Pull out that camera. He's like, oh, I got to get a good shot of this. Thank goodness. Put this on my wall. And he starts to get ready to take a picture. And Katagiri says, no, don't take a picture. There are better pictures of him that you can take and post in the newspaper, which makes a lot of sense, because, I mean, you don't want someone's last photo to be that, especially if his kids are going to see it, no matter, because I'm pretty sure the kids don't have any idea how bad or how terrible their father is at this point. So it was very classy, I would say. But then we get to see that after this whole ordeal and how all these things panned out, Jake decides to go visit Tintin in the hospital. Tintin is struggling right now. I mean, of course, he's like on oxygen. I think he's stable though at this point.
He's stable.
And he takes off his mask or his oxygen, and the first person he sees is Jake, which is probably the last person he wants to see. And I'd be like, why is my mom not here? Why am I looking at Jake right now? It's crazy. And Jake says to him, oh no, Tintin says to Jake, like whispering, barely clinging on to life, sounds like, he's like,
you look like shit, Jake.
Which I thought was funny, because regardless of him still in this horrible condition, hurting, he still has this little bit of sense of humor that he's trying to pan out. So it seems like they're still trying to figure out, or they're going to rekindle that friendship that they might have had previously before all these things went haywire. But of course, while Jake's in there, he's like, all right, I'm gonna go get you some broth, right? Because that's the only thing Tintin can have right now.
Yeah.
Because Tintin was like, I'm really hungry. He's like, well, you can only have broth. He's like, oh, suck. Your shit. So he walks out. He gets ready to go. I guess, I don't know where he's, like a cafeteria, a vending machine. Who knows? We don't really see that. But he bumps into Trendy, and Trendy is about to lose his mind right now, because Trendy is like, Jake, I need to ask you a question, and I want you to be truthful. And he says, did you expose Jason as our source? And Jake, being Jake, first reflex is the lie, right? I'm like,
to his boy,
no,
bro.
You're gonna make it even worse. Did you think he was gonna tell the truth from the beginning, or do you think Jake was gonna lie from the jump when you saw that?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. There was a small part of me that was thinking, oh shit, was there another person that would have known this?
Right. I know. I was hoping there was another name that he might have had, and then
Jake's like, no. The same thing that Trendy even said to Jason, there must have been another way this got exposed. Like,
Right.
and then out of nowhere, Jake goes, because Trinity goes, "Don't lie to me." Like, it
Yeah,
was only
he kind of
me
like he gets
and
very
you.
like brisk with him, like kind of like
Confrontational.
jack him up to the wall.
Yeah, it was only me and it was you, and it wasn't me. So was it you? And then Jake finally relents and saying it was a necessary evil. Essentially, is what Jake's defense was
Yeah.
to bring down Tozawa, and then Trendy following suit to something that Tintin said to Jake earlier this season.
Mhm.
Keep away from me. I don't
Yep.
know you. I don't want to get to know you. I don't want anything to do
Yep.
with you. We're done. So he rekindles one friendship with Tintin, only to lose that close confidant in Trendy, because Trendy's even saying, for the great Jake, right? Everybody else has to suffer. And, that was Trendy's first openly, I want to say his first openly gay romance, right? Like,
yeah, it was.
He was slowly embracing it, having a partner or a boyfriend. And Jake messed up his relationship. Jake likes to mess up relationships on this show.
Can't get
We've
his
realized
own stuff right, but
he
over here
he messes up everybody else's and his. So
ain't nobody be happy.
And then to me, which made me happy, I'll say this, guys. The fact that after all this, Jake still goes to Misaki to be like, now we can live together happily, and yay, you're free to we can be in love. And I knew it. I told you, she is out for self. She was like, yeah, no. Thanks, but no. It's like Mario and the princess kisses Mario on the forehead or the nose, and that's all he gets. She goes,
buddy boy,
I'm done with this life. It's like Erica, I'm done with this life.
Yeah.
Can you see yourself living the boring, humdrum life, quiet life? Because she doesn't want this. She goes, just like his dad said, just like she says, you like this stuff. Right. You love this lifestyle. She goes, I'll always be with you by reading all your articles in the paper. And I'm rolling my eyes over here. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Like, nah, that's a lie. That's a lie right there. She probably don't even read the paper, bro. She might even read the paper.
No,
but ignore the paper because she know his name in there.
She got what she wanted. She got her mama house.
Yeah.
She's free from Tozawa. She gets to live her own life without the gaijin that caused 90% of the trouble to start with.
Yeah.
You really thought after all that she was going to be faithful to you? There's a phrase, how you get them is how you lose them. So he slept with the mistress of the married man, and he really thought he was trying to make a housewife out of a mistress. And nope.
That's a nice way of putting that statement of what it usually is. But I like that. That's a clean version. So I think it's crazy because he almost tried to convince himself that he's okay with having a boring life.
Bullshit.
Come on, Jake. Jake, you're center of attention. You've been center of attention. You do all the things you do to be or have your name published in the paper to be center of attention. So let's not act like, tomorrow I can change it. I don't want to do any of this stuff. What would you do? You live in Tokyo. What would your job be if you weren't a journalist at this point?
Right. What you going to do? Work at McDonald's? No.
No, that ain't happening. So let's just stop formalities and let's just go our separate ways and we'll figure it out after that. And essentially that's what they do. I mean, because obviously she wants no parts of him. And he kind of has to just deal with it at this point, which is kind of probably pretty heartbreaking for him, but I'm pretty sure he'll find some other vice, Tokyo vice to get into, right? So, but there's one part we didn't talk about, when Emmy actually went to, I guess her main, I want to say her supervisor. What was he? I guess like the owner of the paper.
Yeah, he's the main one in charge of the Maiko. Yeah,
right. And she went to him essentially trying to figure out, can we get this published? Or honestly, he brought her, I guess, to a meeting because he wanted to talk to her not only about the article, but about her status within the paper. Because eventually he sees like a lot of promise in her and saying that, eventually you're going to take over this spot or you're going to be having this position.
You're going to be in my chair. Yeah.
Right. And there's going to be a lot of difficult decisions that you're going to have to make. And she's like, what
are you talking about?
Why are we talking about this? I just want this article published. And he's like, we're not going to run the story. And she's like, well, why are we not going to run it? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is why I had, the tape that I gave you that we were supposed to secure and we're supposed to expose this information. And he was like, yeah, I destroyed the tape.
Yeah, that was me.
That was me. I was the mole. So the person she had trusted this whole entire time was obviously the person that was trying to foil the plans of taking Tozawa down.
Yeah,
because
his name
for him,
Ozaki is his name. Ozaki.
And he said something that kind of made sense. He said, what would that information do for this paper? Right? It would probably bring shame to this paper. And of course, it would probably put a target on a lot of our heads, which does make sense. But at the same time, it's like you hiding the truth when that is the main purpose of you being a journalist. Does that kind of defeat the purpose of you being a journalist?
Well, that's the thing. He said, Ozaki even tells her, if we turn this in to put the prime minister, up a creek, we lose access to all of our contacts within, essentially within the government. So as a newspaper, we are going to be shut out. And who knows what's going to happen to our paper after that. So he tells her, I know it's a tough decision, but for the sake of the paper, the thing that we both love so much, we can't submit this. And he tells her, when you're sitting in my chair one day, because he wants her to be his successor, Ozaki's successor, she goes, if I got to do this to sit in your chair, I'm good.
Right.
And storms out.
Yeah. And I think it's so crazy because his whole plan for the information that Emmy was bringing to him was, okay, we can turn it into higher authorities and then they'll figure out what to do and then they'll talk to the prime minister. No, they're not. They're gonna burn them documents, bro. That's exactly what they're gonna ask you. They got copies. Do you have any more? Let's go ahead and sweep it under the rug. Prime minister, he's gonna keep doing what he do though at this point. And I think that's part of not only the problem, but also Emmy knows this too. She's like, I'm not about to, just fold over and hand over all this information to you if at the end of the day, you're just going to sweep it under the rug and allow the same criminals to keep running this city that we're trying to protect in their own Clark Kent, Batman type way. But then instead of flat out quitting, she decides to bring the information to her, I guess you could say her former boyfriend.
Yeah, I guess her ex-boyfriend. Yeah, we can call it ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say they're together at all. I mean, and that takes us back also. Where is her brother? What happened to him?
We completely lose her brother in this episode. Right. Completely.
Like he had no part to the last episode when he was trying to smack a child and kidnap him in broad daylight. And I'm like, and then we just end it like that. Like, oh yeah, he gets to, let's just take him home. Maybe he needs some rest. He was having a bad day. He made some poor decisions. But I would have loved to see more of that story to figure out what developed, with her brother. Did she decide, what, he needs to go live somewhere else and maybe get some help, or, he's doing better now, but we just completely dropped off on that one, as well as with Kaito as well, I would say, because Kaito's story.
Because we thought there was going to be some maybe last second thing with Kaito, but I guess Kaito going home was the end of that story. So
yeah, Kaito got a rough little experience from the jump, honestly, because he got to be immediately in a gang that had a bad leader, decide to shoot a man in the neck and miss, and then just run for his life, and
still keep his life.
No repercussions. I mean, he got beat up a couple times. He got to hook up with a couple escorts, but I mean, what did he learn? I need to stay in school is probably what he learned, to be honest.
That's what he learned. Stay out that life.
Yeah, because he's like, I want to live with my mom. Like, I don't want to do
want
this.
My mom.
This bathhouse is dangerous. They're drowning people in this bathhouse. I don't want to be here anymore, mom. So it's kind of crazy to think about. So in closing in this episode, we get to see Jake and Katagiri kind of reminiscing over the past. I guess you see the past 2 seasons to them. I guess pretty much past 2 years, and kind of just talking about what's next for them at this point. I did notice that they were both drinking. They were smoking cigarettes, but they're also drinking Hibiki Japanese whiskey, which is very, very famous and very expensive in the United States, but it is fantastic. It looked like a 12-year, I used to be a bartender in Washington D.C. and it looked amazing.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah,
All
it looked
right.
really, really good. I remember being able to taste the sample. They have a couple different ones: a Biki, which is like a Caribbean cask type bourbon, and then they also have one that's like a green apple, which is really, really good. Very expensive drinks though, but
Learning a lot about my
for
co-host,
them to just
y'all.
be on the porch sipping it like that, I was like, wow. I was like, you guys got some good salaries for all I know at this point. But they're trying to reminisce about what's going to happen next. Of course, Katagiri is looking to go into retirement at this point.
Shit.
And Jake is talking about, he's looking to kind of relax and chill out and not, be too much in the action. But we know that's not Jake, right?
Right.
And there's like a reference that Katagiri uses about finding your Zen, I think he says, or there's a practice of Zen.
Meditation. Yeah,
Right.
practicing Zen. Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that, Jake, can you sit still? And that'll be able to tell you what you'll be able to do later on. Can you stay still? Can you relax? And he's like, man, I can stay still. I can stay still all day. And then Katagiri is the same way. He's like, man, I love doing nothing. It's my favorite. Yep. So Jake sits there for like 2 seconds. He's like, all right, well, let me see if you can meditate. Jake sits there, not even like 5 seconds of trying to meditate. He's like, why are you breathing so loud? He's like, all right. He's like, breathe quieter. 5 seconds more go by. He's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm like, well, Jay can't sit still. He's either got ADHD or the guy just really got to be on the move every time you turn around.
Correct.
And at the same time, as Jake leaves, Katagiri decides to try to do the same thing. And it's this weird scene because we get this weird little further back like panned view shot of them too. Right. Yeah, up close shot. But then we also do this weird backdrop shot where we're like all the way back in the front of the yard where the mailbox is, and we see them two talking on the porch. And Damien, we talked about this before because we were like, oh my God, Katagiri about to die. Somebody about to shoot him. He about to get sniped, right?
Right.
Is that what you thought? I mean, that's what I
thought.
No,
yeah, without question. In that moment, like we said before we got here, just in that moment, why would you pan in so tightly on Katagiri meditating?
Strange.
To the point of like, oh, he gonna get got, because you thought he was gonna get his throat slit. I thought while he's inhaling, he was gonna literally get a bullet to the chest from somebody, like a sniper. So again, because nobody got Paulina'd yet, so we're thinking maybe the last second somebody gets got, and then we get to continue the show. But no, we get Katagiri breathing, and then after a while he opens his eyes, and then he realizes, crap, he can't do it either.
Yeah, he can't sit still as well. Doing nothing is not in his blood, and that guy's gonna be a detective until he dies. I'm pretty sure of it at this point. But matter of fact, there was one part that we did miss that I just thought about just now, and it was seeing Sato ascend.
The ascension, the ascension ceremony.
But to the being the Oaban of Shai Harakai officially and being accepted by the council. We got to see the higher elder and them doing this ceremony where they drink the sake from the same bowl, and then Sato keeps the bowl in remembrance of his oath to this group of Yakuzas. And now he's there. He made it, man. That's it. Like, my man, full circle. This was a full circle story for Sato, though. Everybody else was kind of like tied in loose ends. Excuse me. But Sato definitely was, from beginning to end, we got to see him like grow as like, I don't want to say adolescent, but like as like the errand boy to now becoming, went from
thug, like typical thug, to errand boy to the boss, because that's what Ishida's last dying wish was, is for him to ascend to that position. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm watching this with you and I'm over here thinking, yo, this is a great effing ceremony, man. Like it's a ritual.
Yeah, no, it was really good. When they were doing the claps, and I was like,
clap, yes. I'm like, wow, this is. But again, it goes back to what I said before. This show is less about Jake and Co. and more about the culture of the Yakuza.
Right.
That's what I got to learn most about in this show. It's not just their criminals. Like we always talk about the mafia, right? They have a certain way of doing things. The Yakuza has a certain way of doing things. And to see this ceremonial ascension, the garb, everyone is decked out in this ceremonial garb, and you're thinking, oh, this is a big deal. Like our guy has got a big deal. This is a big deal for him. And obviously he ascends. And then there's also, before we go, there's also that last meeting between Samantha and Sato, where she pulls up on Sato, talk about the position looks good on him. All right, whatever.
Thank you.
Whatever. Yeah, thanks. What do you want? Because that's
Right.
Samantha's whole MO.
Right.
But before that,
yeah, we forgot. Yeah, it was one more thing.
Samantha gets called on the carpet. But who'd she get called on the carpet by? It wasn't by the police. It wasn't by anyone like that. It was the former Mrs. Tozawa.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh, she gonna get got, because remember, Mrs. Tozawa, we find out, was the one that gave the tape to the Maiko, to the newspaper about the prime minister from the boat.
She sent it to Jake. Come to find out, right?
Sent it to Jake,
we found out she sent it to Jake, and she's like, matter of fact, at the end, oh God, there's so many things in this episode. But after Tozawa was about to get ready to end his own life, outside, she had said to Jake, "We could have avoided all of this, right? Like, I sent you the tape,
and you let it slip through your fingers."
Like that, you let it slip right through your fingers, and we could have avoided all this whole entire situation. So she had been trying to get her husband out of there for quite some time now, and finally they were able to, nail him.
But she was pissed at the way it happened. She goes, "I'm not going to forget that."
Right.
Like, in her mind, they didn't have to kill her husband.
Right.
This was the last resort. Originally, when the season started, had the Maiko, had they approved the first story in the first place with the prime minister getting Paulina'd, right?
Right.
None of this with Tozawa would have happened.
Right.
He wouldn't be dead. He'd be alive. He wouldn't have risen to power the way he rose to power.
Right.
So they wouldn't have had to cut him literally out of the situation.
He probably would have got excommunicated, and that's it.
Yeah. And that's it. Vanished.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
But because according to Mrs. Tozawa, because Jake dropped the ball on that, she's never going to forget that. So we go fast forward to Samantha having a meeting with Mrs. Tozawa. I'm thinking, man, she in Gaijins today, man. She's got bad luck. Yep. So I'm thinking, oh no, she gonna kill Samantha. Samantha's gonna get Paulina'd. Yeah, someone's gonna finally die. A business proposition, because what did we always say about Samantha, sir? We always said she is out for herself.
That's right.
She will cover her ass. And what does she do? The plans from the architect, from the original thing she was going to make with Ishida, the original deal that the architect died for, right?
Yep.
And Ishida died for. She has the plan still. And she tells Mrs. Ishida, she gives it to her about how much this is going to make her in millions and real profitable.
Yeah.
And all she asks is for a finder's fee. We don't know what she said what the finder's fee was, right?
It was 10 million yen.
10 million yen was the finder's fee.
Yep.
So, and she goes, well, what will you do with it? She goes, that's my business. So she's alive, obviously. She sells
she didn't die. I thought the tea was going to be poisoned and she was going to take documents.
I thought they were going to have poison tea, but nope. And we see Samantha at the end go up to Sato, say their goodbyes, kiss him goodbye, talking about I'll be in touch. Thought,
it was weird because she was like, yeah, I'm going away for a little bit. And he's like, where are you going? And she's like, I'll see you soon.
She never tells him. No, she never says it.
She's just like, I'll be back.
I'll see you soon.
Nah, she not. She gone. She probably went to France. She's in France now. So I'm just gonna say that. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows at this point? But yeah, that's where our season finale ends right there, man. All right, this is such a crazy bittersweet thing because I know tons of people out there have been checking out these recaps and reviews, and we appreciate all you guys in the comments checking it out and supporting the channel and stuff. Hopefully we have something soon just like this that you guys can check out as well. Damien, if you had to rate this season, we're just going to rate the whole season entirely. How would you rate it right now out of 5?
I'm only going to ding it because it took a while to heat up. So I'm going to give this 8.5. Well, we said out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. Only because it took a while to heat up and it almost lost me in the first 2 episodes. So 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, same for me. I would give it a 4.5. character stories definitely took a little while to develop, and of course us coming in cold turkey straight out from not knowing very much about season one or being really in depth or connected to these characters, it definitely started out kind of slow, but once it heated up, the coals did not go out at all. With from like episode I think 5 and on, it was getting crazy. But those first 3 were like, all right, what's happening here?
What do we got here?
What y'all doing? You know, like, so yeah,
Mhm.
once we got to episode 5, I was like, okay, I'm fully invested into it. So yeah, man, anything else you want to touch on before we get up out of here?
I mean, we've hit every note, you know, so everybody had a little bow tied, and this, sadly for us, it's the end of the season, and potentially it left it where it's the end of the series potentially, and
Probably, yeah.
you know, and with these characters, you grow. You know, this is our only season watching this, right? So we grew close to these characters. We hated Jake. We hated Samantha. We felt for Katagiri's family. We wanted Hayama to get his. We wanted Sato to leave. We wanted Tozawa to get his. We couldn't stand Masaki. Like, we wanted Kaito to go back to his mom. So for everyone that watched this with us in these recaps, 1, thank you. But 2, this has been a ride that I did not expect us to take. And we hit every note on this recap for this final episode. So if this is the series finale, I will say it was a pleasure to cover this. It was a pleasure to watch this. And I really hope there's a season 3.
Fingers crossed, man. We'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for checking out our spoiler recap of season 2 of Tokyo Vice, episode 10, the season finale on Max, premiering April 4th. If you guys like more content like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you can be the first ones to know about new content that we drop on a week-to-week basis. And make sure you check us out at biggoldbeltmedia.com. Thank you guys for checking us out. Peace.
Peace.
I